I welcome you all for this lecture series on artificial intelligence and machine learning. In this lecture, we will briefly discuss about the topic Perceptron, and that this is the basic unit of neural network. And all we should know why we should learn the Perceptron in terms of AI ML perspective. Learning the perceptron is important for understanding how machine learning algorithms work at their core. It is one of the first models to demonstrate how a machine can learn from a labeled data using weights and bias. The perceptron introduces key ideas like linear decision boundaries, training using error correction, and iterative learning, which are foundational to many supervised learning techniques. By studying the perceptron, we gain the skills to implement and optimize classification algorithms, understand model limitations, and transition smoothly to more advanced models like logistic regression and deep neural networks. First, what is perceptron? A perceptron is a most fundamental type of artificial neural network and serves as building block for more complex architecture. It consists of a single layer of neurons. Also, these neurons are being called it as nodes or units that takes multiple inputs, apply individual weights and add a bias, and pass the results through an activation function. So commonly a step function to produce a binary output, we are using it in this perceptron. This model was introduced by Frank Rosenblatt in the year 1958 as a computational representation of a biological neuron, and it marked one of the earliest attempts to mimic how the human brain processes information. The perceptron is specifically designed to handle binary classification tasks such as determining whether an email is spam or not, and if you are taking into the medical field, whether the tumor is malignant or benign. Despite its simplicity, the perceptron laid the foundation for more advanced neural networks like multi-layer perceptron, that is MLPs, which can handle non-linearly separable problems. This will see or will discuss in the later lectures. Next is the structure of the perceptron. In the perceptron model, the process begins with the inputs. Inputs, we are defining it as x1, x2 up to xn, which represents the future of the input data, such as pixel values in an image or attributes in a data set. Each input is associated with a corresponding weight. That means x1 is associated with w1, x2 is associated with w2, x3 is associated with w3, etc. So we can call it as x1 is associated with w1, x2 is associated with w2, x3, w3, x4, w4, etc., xn, wn. So we can call it as each input is associated with a corresponding weight w1, w2, wn, etc., which determines the significance or influence of that input on the final decision. The perceptron uses summation function to calculate the weighted sum of all inputs. This we can call it as weighted sum of all inputs. Is typically expressed it as xi into wi, summation of. This we can represent it as x1 w1 plus x2 w2, etc. up to xn wn plus b. In this b, x value is equal to 1, that we can call it as bias. Bias is associated, that is input, one input is associated with the bias. Thus the bias term b is then added into the sum, allowing the model to adjust the output independently of the inputs and improving its flexibility. So this we can call it as for the fine tuning, we'll be adding this bias with input is always 1. in this case. This total is passed through an activation function. So the weighted sum is passed through the activation function, usually a step function. In the symbol perceptron, the step function is used, which decides whether a neuron should activate or not based on the threshold. We are going to fix the threshold value in this step function, either 0 or 1. We'll be getting the output only the binary values. Finally, the output y is generated as a binary value 0 or 1, representing the model's decision or classification results. So, for example, if you are taking into the medical field, diagnosing the cancer cells, it will be giving it as whether the cell is the malignant or a benign. So, we'll be fixing for the benign 0, malignant 1. So, we will be giving either this value or that value. Only two values you are going to get. And this is the model of the single layer perceptron. And this we can call it as input layer. As I have said, here only two inputs I have taken. X1 is associated with W1, X2 is associated with W2. In the previous lecture, we have seen how this model is derived from by taking the concept of biological neural network. And here this is the cell body or soma. In this artificial neural network, we are calling it as the node. X1 is associated with W1, X2 is associated with W2. What it will do, it will give us the weighted sum of the input X1 W1 plus X2 W2 plus B. This is used for the fine tuning, that exactly we are able to get this. And this weighted sum is applied to the neural that is step function. In the simple perceptron uses the step function, and here this is the activation function. This is the formula. Everyone should remember this. In this case, we have taken if x is less than 0, this weighted sum value is, suppose we are getting minus 1, we are getting the output, it is equal to f of x is equal to 0. If it is greater than or equal to 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., this f of x value is equal to 1. So, based on this value, less than 0, the output is 0, greater than or equal to 0, the output is 1. So this is the basic structure of the perceptron input layer, and each input is associated with the weight value. This is the weighted sum, and here this is the output layer. Here we are applying the activation function to get the output. And the step activation function is used in the previous case. If the weighted sum is greater than the threshold value, the weighted sum is greater than the threshold value, the output is equal to 1, else the output is equal to 0. And this model is very simple and but not differentiable. Limited learning only we are going to get it. And the modern models use the smoother functions. This will discuss it in the later lectures. Sigmoidal ReLU function for gradient based learning. This is the step function. This activation function is the sigmoidal function. So the learning the perceptron, how it is going to happen. Training involves adjusting the weight values to minimize the classification errors. For example, my targeted output is 1. Instead of getting 1, I am getting only the 0.7. So it is error. 1 minus 0.7 is the error. Till I get 1 minus 1 is equal to 0, I am going to train the network. I am going to adjust the weight. So training involves adjusting the weight to minimize the classification error. Here we have to use this formula. Use the rule-based update. If initially you are fixing W1, W2, etc., some values, for that value, we are not going to get the targeted value. We are going to update the weights. So here it is given by Wi is equal to, this is the new weight, and the old weight plus change in weight. So this is the change in weight. Change in weight value. Change in weight value. The change in weight value is given by the formula eta into y minus y gap into xi. So here this eta is the learning rate, y is the actual label. My output is 1 or 0, and y cap is the predicted output, what you found out, the 0.7, 0.8, etc. Until we get 1 minus, that is target value, difference is 0, we are going to repeat the process. So repeat the training data until it convergence. Convergence in the sense, what you are finding the output that should be matching with the targeted output. We'll see one example problem. So this is the flow chart of the basic flow chart. We have to start and then we have to initialize the weights. Get a training example. For example, if I am taking the AND gate two input AND gate, I am considering the two input AND gate. I have the pattern 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. What is my targeted output? 0 0 0 1. We have to apply these patterns and each pattern is associated with, for that we have to initialize the weight, get the training example and make the predictions. We have to find out by applying the weighted sum and also comparing with the threshold value. We have to find out the predictions. If the prediction is correct, my output, whatever I am finding out, the output is equivalent to this targeted output. If it is yes, if it is no, update the weights and it will go. If it is yes, all process predictions are correct, we have to stop the process. If it is no, if it is yes or no, here it is no, again it has to go and repeat the process until we get the targeted outputs equal to whatever the predicted output you are getting. We'll see one example problem. The AND gate. I am going to take a two input AND gate. Two input AND gate. In this two input AND gate, we are going to take two inputs A and B and initializing the weight value. First, I am fixing the weight value is equal to 1.2 and 0.6. Here input I am going to apply it 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. See here 0 0 0 1 1 0 and 1 1. I will be applying and finding out after applying this weighted sum of the input I am going to find out. And the threshold I have fixed it as theta is equal to 1 and I am checking whether the output we are getting it or not. First W1 1.2 and W2 is 1.6. Learning rate we have taken it as 0.5 and the threshold value is 1. So in this case, first pattern we will apply. For what is the first pattern? The first pattern is the 0 0. So I am applying A is equal to 0 here. I am going to apply in this way only we are going to execute 0 0. If I am applying the 0 0, 0 is multiplied with 1.2. Again this 0 is multiplied with 0.6. So the targeted output is equal to, what is the targeted output for this pattern 0 0? The targeted output is 0. We have to write this. So xi wi, x1 w1 plus x2 w2. Here bias we have not considered because it is a simple unit. So 0 into 1.2 plus 0 into 1.2. And here what is the value we are getting? 0 plus 0 is equal to 0. So this is the predicted. And what is the target? Target is also 0. So this for this case, this weight value is working. The sum is not greater than the threshold value xi. Threshold is what is the threshold value? 1, not greater than, less than 0. Hence the output is 1. So first case we are achieving it. What is the second pattern? We have to apply the second pattern. What is second pattern? 0 and 1. 0 is multiplied with 0 is multiplied with what? 1.2 and 1 is multiplied with 0 is multiplied with what? 1 and 1 is multiplied with 0.6. What is the value we are getting? We are getting the value it is equal to, we are getting the value is equal to 0. Here 0. That is in this case 0.0 into 1.2, 1 into 0.6. What is the value we are getting? Here 0, here 0.6. What is the weighted sum? 0.6. The 0.6 is less than 1. So naturally the output is equal to 0. Here 0 we are achieving it. And the third, hence the output is 0. And the third input, if you are applying 1 and x2 is equal to 0 and the targeted output is 0. So 1 into 1.2, 0 into 1.6. What is the value we are getting? 1.2 plus 0 is equal to 1.2. This 1.2 is greater than the target, less than greater than the target. What is the output? The output is naturally 1. But what is the targeted output here? 0. So it is not matching. So now we are coming into the conclusion that for this pattern, that is 1 0 pattern, whatever the weight value we have fixed it, the weight value is wrong. So we have to update the weight. How we are going to update the weight? As I've said in the previous formula, while we are discussing in the lecture, this formula we have to apply. This formula we have to apply this formula for updating the weight value. This formula, change in weight, we have to apply for it. And if you are applying this, you are going to get the exact output in this case. So the modified weight, how we are going to apply this? Here we are getting it is greater than 0, output 1, but our targeted output is 0. So this is greater than the threshold. So the output is 1. So here the formula is Wi is equal to Wi plus eta into T minus the output what you are getting into Xi. So W1 is equal to, first W1 we have to change. Each and every weight we have to change. What is W1? 1.2. What is the eta value we have taken? Eta is 0.5. That is learning rate. 0.5. And Z, what is the targeted output? Here we know that for the pattern 1 0, the targeted output is what? Targeted output is 0. This 0 we have found out. This is the observed output. The observed output is what? 1. 0 minus 1 into Xi. What is that Xi? Here X1 alone we are taking. So 1. If you are multiplying 1.2 plus 0.5 of minus 1 is equal to what? 1.2 minus 0.5 is equal to 0.7. And for W2 also we have to find out. The formula is Wi. So here 0 0.6, 0.5, the targeted output is 0, 1, and our pattern 1, 0. Here the X2 is equal to what? 0. In this case, 0 0.6 plus, not a plus, yes, 0.5 into minus 1 into 0. We are going to get 0 0.6. The 0 0.6 we are getting, and for this updated weight value, we have to one more time pass the input. 1 0. The modified weights are now 0.7 and 0.6. So in this case, W1 we are going to get a 0.7, 0.6, and learning rate is 0.5. In W1 first, once if you are updating the weight value, we have to start from the first value 0 0. We are applying it 0.7, 0.7. In this case, we are getting 0, and here less than = 0. Second pattern 0 1, 0.7. Here 0, 0.6. It is less than 1, so we are getting 0. The targeted output matches with the predicted. And the third input is what? 1 0. In this case only we had a problem. So 1 into 0.7 plus 0 into 0.6. So we are getting 0.7. It is less than the threshold. The value is 0. So the third pattern is also we are matching it. We have fulfilled it. So less than 0, output is 0. Fourth pattern is what? 1, that is 1 and 1. 1 into 0.7 plus 1 into 0.7 plus 1 into 0.6. We are getting 1.3. It is greater than or equal to greater than threshold value. So the output is equal to what? Output is equal to, output is 1. So this matches with what? Targeted output. Targeted output. So from this, we are going to write 0, 0 in this way. Modified diagram we are W1 is 0.7, W2 is 0.6, and this is the AND gate WXI. Threshold 1 we are fixing it as 1. For this case, targeted is 0, 0, and for the output, predicted output is also we are getting 0, 0, 0, 1. So we found out this value, targeted output is equal to the whatever we are getting the observed data. 0 0 0 0. Here the everything is matching, so we are going, it has been converged. That means the targeted output is equivalent to the observed output. Observed output, that means T minus observed, we are getting 0. So we are going to stop the algorithm. That means it has been converged. And also In this case, it is a simple layer or single layer perceptron. Single layer in the sense we have got only this is the input layer, and here we have got only output. What type of inputs or what type of pattern it will suits, and what type of pattern it will not be able to use it. If you are taking the AND gate, we have got input I1, I2. If you are giving, what is the output? 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. If you are, this is I1, this is I2. If you are classifying the pattern, this is 0, 0. And for the second case, 0, 1, what is the output? 0, 1, 0, 0. And for 1, 1, this represents the output is equal to 1. And we can able to classify, or we can able to separate the zero classes into the class 1, or otherwise here minus, if you are taking this, we can call it as plus, or these patterns we are calling it as the low value or zero patterns. These patterns we can call it as the pattern is high. So we can able to separate the value of 0 with the 1. So for these type of cases, we can use the single layer perceptron. Single layer perceptron. Similarly, AND gate, OR gate, if you are taking, we can do the calculations for AND gate, OR gate also. For 0, 0, 0, for other values, this is the 1. Here we can able to separate the class 1 from this 0 category. So this case also we can use the single layer perceptron, what we have discussed, this type of cases. But if you are taking the that is a XOR gate, 0, 0 output is 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, and 1, 1. Wherever the highest or lowest values are 1, here this is 0 value. For 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, we got it. And for this, we have got. So in this case, 0 is being separated from this one layer, one plane, one hyperplane. And also another 0 is also is been separated with the another plane. So these type, more than one plane, if we are using it, we cannot use this single layer perceptron. For these type of cases, we are going to use the multi-layer perceptron. So this is the main drawback or limitations of single layer perceptron. It can only solve linearly separable problems. Example, AND OR operations it will work, and it is failed to work for XOR gate, non-linearly separable, because non-linearly means we are going to use more than two planes to separate the positive classes with the negative class, and it cannot model the complex decision boundaries. And the solution for this limitations, or in order to overcome these limitations only, we are going for multi-layer perceptron. That means MLP or nonlinear. Instead of going for the step function or some other functions, we are going to use nonlinear activation functions to find out the output. So hope everyone understood the basic concepts about this perceptron. The next lecture will briefly discuss about the multi-layer perceptron. Thank you.